CBS News senior national security analyst Fran Townsend is following the latest. She's also a former Homeland Security advisor to President George W. Bush. Fran, thanks for being here.
Good morning.
So from your experience, what are police focusing on right now in the investigation?
So they want to know the motive, what drove this individual or individuals to drive this van apparently intentionally into this crowd. Second, they want to know, did he act alone? We have heard reports that there were two others who might have fled on foot. And so at third, was he inspired or directed by some larger entity? Those are the things I think they're looking at today. I have no doubt we're going to see searches of the home of the individual who's in custody, his place of work. They'll be searching computers. They'll be looking for contacts, any indication of planning or who he might have planned this with.
This happened at the Finsbury Park Mosque, which is considered very diverse and vibrant. This is in North London, not in the city center. Right. It was once associated with extremism. So what could that possibly point to in terms of planning?
You know, it's interesting. I want to be careful here because, you know, any targeting with using violence to target civilians to achieve any objective is terrorism, right? That's the very definition of it. And so whatever this individual's motive was to terrorize that population. I think we ought to be concerned. There is no doubt, we've already seen it on social media, that ISIS, who has already called for Ramadan attacks, is turning this into propaganda to try and recruit and inspire others in this last week of Ramadan. And so it's a very, very dangerous, pernicious act. And I think we need to know more of the facts about what was behind it.
I think the big question right now, this is the fourth major attack in the UK in just the last several months. Why are so many happening in the UK?
You know, it's interesting. I think I should say they have very capable services. MI5, MI6, the London Metropolitan Police Counterterrorism Division are extremely capable, as good, if not better, than what we have here in the United States. But I think they're overwhelmed. What we've heard are the kinds of numbers of individuals of interest to them, reports as large as 23,000 individuals. They're overwhelmed. So you have to make choices about who's likely to tip over from being espousing radical ideologies to actually taking action. And that's a hard thing to do. Remember, when they're using weapons like a car, you're not going to restrict people's access to cars. It means you have to identify the person before he gets behind the wheel. And that's the most difficult task for investigators. You know, if there's any bright spot to this, reports coming out of last night, what we find is the community that was attacked actually held the guy for police to get there, reminiscent of United 93 crashing and the people on the plane. But there were also people who protected that individual from the mob. They didn't want him to be hurt before police arrived. And so that's the sort of community aspect of this that we ought to be telling those stories, because that's exactly how this sort of thing gets stopped.
Well, speaking of the people, I just want to mention, you know, I was in London after the London Bridge attack, and the people were defiant in the face of terrorism. They were telling me they don't want to let that get in the way of their everyday life. But I'm curious, how concerned should people be right now as they go about their everyday lives in small areas, not like a big Times Square, but this happened in North London.
Right. No, and I do think, I mean, look, we know here in New York City, the police department is going to put additional patrols and posts in front of mosques throughout the end of Ramadan, because we are concerned. We ought to be concerned here, just as they are in London, that you may see sort of similar attacks that are inspired by it.
All right, Fran Townsend, thank you.
Thank you.